Nobody does it, Bennett. Yes, I've gone and said it. Movies and games, some things that are lame. Nobody does it, Bennett. Meh.
Good evening and welcome. There are some superb movies ahead on Movie Review Universe. Next time, we'll join Michael Cera as he fights 7 evil exes for the chance at love in the 2010 movie Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Right now though, it's time for The Punisher from 2004. Hello and welcome to Nobody Does It Bennett, Movie Review Universe, for our review of The Punisher from 2004. I am your host, The Greg Bennett Experience, and joining me once again for this one, for a fun-filled, nonsense-filled trip. Filled. How many times can I say filled, Jeff?
Can I get a ham-filled sandwich?
So many filled. I was like, put filled a couple times on here, and I was like, I'm just going to say filled more times just because I keep saying filled. But yeah, for another round of fun-filled nonsense, it's Jeff. Welcome along again, Jeff.
Thanks. Hopefully this isn't going to be too much of a punishment.
Oh, I got it because it's the Punisher and you said it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. What genius. Right, and welcome back to the listeners. Sorry I have been away so long. What was going to be a month's break turned into about 2 months, partly due to lockdown here in New Zealand, but also so that I could restructure the podcast a little too. Now, in the first few months during the podcast, I was doing 4 episodes a month, about 1 a week. What I found out pretty quickly, though, was doing an episode a week, as well as working a full-time job, didn't give me much time for anything else. Now, I love the podcast, but I don't want it to beat me down. So from now on, I will be doing 2 podcasts a month, and not 4. I will do 1 Movie Review Universe a month, and will alternate between a video game movie pitch and Worst of the Worst. So, for example here, this month, we have The Punisher Movie Review Universe here today with Jeff. And in 2 weeks' time, we'll be doing the Star Fox 64/Light Up Wars for a video game movie pitch.
But not with me.
But not with you. In November, will be Scott Pilgrim vs. the World
Looking forward to that one.
Movie Review Universe, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 for Worst of the Worst. And that is how it's going to go for the next couple months. So yeah, like this month is Video Game Movie Pitch with Movie Review Universe. Next month will be Worst of the Worst Video Game Universe. And then the following month again will be Video Game Movie Pitch. That's how I'm going to do it.
Excellent.
Yeah. With these changes in place, hopefully I won't need to take any more breaks anytime soon. But with that in mind, Jeff, I'm excited to be back with The Punisher from 2004, otherwise known as the Thomas Jane one. What is your history with The Punisher, Jeff, as a character?
It's not that great, to be honest. He's not really a character I've ever paid attention to. The first time I ever knew about the Punisher wasn't until the animated Spider-Man series.
I never actually saw the animated Spider-Man series when I was a kid. Like, I saw my What's the Pieces, but I never really... I knew the Punisher until this movie came out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't like the Punisher until this movie came out. I know there is a lot of people out there with their comments about this isn't as true to the comics. There's very little out there that is actually true to the comics of whatever movie they're doing. Yeah. So stop worrying about that and just go in and enjoy the movies, because the characters you like, whether they're as true to the comics or not, shouldn't be something that you're going in for.
Should it be enjoyment?
Yeah.
So how did they do Punisher in the animated series of Spider-Man? Like, he's such a kid-friendly kind of cartoon.
Yeah, I don't know. I think, if I remember rightly, he never killed anyone in that.
Boxing glove arrows, right?
Oh, yeah. Boxing glove arrows. That's the one. I can't remember, but I'm pretty certain he was more like the Phantom and stuff. You know, he used his weapons to disarm more than to kill, which was bizarre.
Weird name for a Punisher when you're not really punishing, you're just...
Yeah.
Apprehender, maybe?
Yeah. You got to keep in mind that they're trying to PC it up for a cartoon for kids.
I'm surprised they even went with Punisher in the cartoon. It's
yeah.
a surprise.
I think they just did it as a way to introduce the kids to the Punisher, and then basically went, right, you can go from there. And
Hey kids, read the comics.
that for me it's just so weird. It's like handing a kid a gun and going, right, we're not saying these guns are bad. We'll let you decide for yourself.
It's like saying, hey, here's the Punisher. You know, he's just a everyday go-lucky kind of fun character. Now, just remember, you've got your family around here. Go read the comics and find out what happens when you don't.
Yeah. Go read the comics and find out just how dark a comic can actually be.
So maybe rather than his family got murdered, his family lost their vacation time, and so he got angry about it.
I don't even think they did anything with his backstory in the cartoon. I'm pretty sure he's just there as a random team up. I'm pretty certain that he teamed up with a whole bunch of different heroes at one point. He definitely teams up with the X-Men.
Which is cool. Was it the 90s version, the same ones?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So he definitely teams up with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, Punisher.
Does Moon Knight ever show up?
I don't think so.
Hmm.
I don't think Moon Knight has been in a cartoon yet, to be honest. Comment down below and let us know. Because I'm pretty certain he hasn't, but yeah.
He showed up in Web of Shadows, the video game from 2008.
Moon Knight?
Moon Knight. He shows up in that. Pretty cool. Right, so same as you, Jeff, I didn't know much about the Punisher at all until I saw this film. So this was my first experience with the character. So going into this, I knew nothing.
That's a pretty strong way to go, though, isn't it? I mean, if you're going to get into Punisher for the first time, Thomas Jane did a really good job, despite what some people might think.
Yeah, so going into this, seeing how he worked, like through this film, he uses his smarts rather than his brutal force to try and kind of take over. And we'll go into more on that during the movie. But that's what I liked about this Thomas Jane version was he wasn't brutal unless he really necessarily had to be. Yeah. Some of the things he did, I thought were quite genius. We'll go through as well. But yeah,
I don't know. I like a little bit of the brutality, but I also really enjoyed just the way he went about everything. Yeah. I mean, it's not obviously the way he did it in the comics, but it's just felt better to me.
Yeah, and if people are like, I didn't like this film because it wasn't comic book accurate. Okay, that's your opinion. But if that's the only flaw you got against it, then we're saying it's not.
If you think about it, there's not too many movies that claim to try and be comic book accurate.
At the time, though, the Punisher comic books weren't seen as a massive... Like, this is before MCU. They had Spider-Man and X-Men, but not all comic book characters are mainstream, and they're trying to bring them into the mainstream. Yeah. If they brought him in and he was just a brutal guy that just killed everyone in his path, it'd be R-rated to the max so no one could see it. Yeah. And it just... You wouldn't really identify with the character that much, I don't believe. I think with Jane's one, you identify with him more because he's a good guy, but he just has to do really dark things.
I was just thinking with the Punisher how it was popular enough that it spawned its own video game.
The Punisher game was actually seen as a really good game too, because you can interrogate people in different ways to get information. I've never actually played it, but
the best part about it is you didn't actually have to kill them. Well, you could interrogate them, but you didn't actually have to kill them. Most people did, obviously, because they wanted to see what would happen when you did. Like, one of the ones I remember is interrogating a guy over a piranha pit and throwing him in afterwards. Ooh. Yep, that stuff was fun.
So as we said, this was obviously before the MCU. It was actually about 4 years before Iron Man came out. This feels like a lot longer before that.
It really does.
Do you know this little bit of trivia, Jeff, that the great Kevin Feige was an executive producer on The Punisher 2004?
No.
He was. He's the guy, obviously the man who now orchestrates the MCU.
Yeah.
He is one of the producers here. I believe he did some of the X-Men films as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Bit of Feige influence in this one. Right, so what we're going to do, Jeff, is go through the movie The Punisher. We'll talk about stuff as well as act out a few bits and bobs with our own unique voices. After we have gone through this film, we will give our ratings at the end. What rating will we give it? Stay tuned to find out. Dun, dun, dun. If you like what you hear and would like some more, or have an opinion on what you heard, why not contact us? You can do this by going to our Nobody Does It Bennett Facebook page, or on the Twitter at NobodyDIBennett. That's NobodyDI Bennett. You can also visit us on our email by going to nobodydoesitbennett@outlook.com. That's nobodydoesitbennett@outlook.com. And just remember, that's Bennett with 2 N's and 2 T's.
Please, sir, can I have some more, sir?
Well, you can, because there's also JB's Real Cut. JB Hi-Fi and I have come to an agreement, and we are also releasing a podcast about the more recent movies than what we cover here. So if you ever want to know about a movie coming out or a movie that's come out in the last couple of months, check out JB's Real Cut from JB Hi-Fi. Right, Jeff, are you ready for some punishment? Let's avenge our family and go through The Punisher from 2004.
Depends on which family members we're talking about.
Some you won't go on a murderous spree for? All right, we won't say which ones.
Pretty much.
We won't say which ones.
I won't play favorites.
Right, let's go through the movie.
Nobody does it, Bennett.
Movie starts with the Marvel logo. This one has the sound of a film projector in the background, but then changes to black and white with bullet holes shot through the logo. I thought that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The opening titles are very film noir, blended with a graphic novel. So they're going for the kind of comic kind of aesthetics, but also got the black and white of the Punisher's kind of emblem and logo as well. If you told me before I watched this film again where the movie was set, I would not have. I would have gone, a city somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually Tampa, Florida. It comes up at the start of it. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
So it's in Tampa. Tampa, Florida. A yellow sports car shows up at a quiet shipping yard at night as 2 men, one with a briefcase, meet a guy named Otto Krieg. They meet with him as he's an arms dealer, and they have a supply drop. The men come to an arrangement. As they agree to the deal, a helicopter hovers overhead, and police cars appear at the scene. Otto blames the 2 men for bringing the cops. Otto pulls out a gun and gets shot by the police.
Every time you say that, all I can think of is the guy from The Simpsons.
Otto. Not that Otto.
I can fly. No, only kidding, I can fly.
Hurrah! Bobby, one of the 2 men, tries to calm down the police. Some of the other men, though, that show up after the fact, start firing Uzis and get dropped by the police. Bobby is caught in the crossfire and is killed. Otto is pronounced dead at the scene. That's pretty much the opening scene. So kind of like, okay, it's just your average drug deal. Yeah. Otto looks like he was a bit of a scumbag that got killed.
Yeah.
They pick up the bodies. Once the ambulance has left the crime scene, Otto's body bag is unzipped and Otto sits up. Otto Krieg turns out to be undercover FBI agent Frank Castle.
God, I hate this job.
Frank gets his gear taken off as he asks who the body is. We know that his name is Bobby. This may be important to the story in a little while.
This may be important. Remember this, people.
Remember this. This could be important.
Get him ID'd and get him to the morgue. And get me some pants. I don't know what happened to my voice there.
Yeah.
I went from the God, I hate this job to a completely different character. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing it.
Frank is then whisked away into a room where his fellow police officers are waiting for him to celebrate his retirement. Yes, it says wicked.
Like,
my word screwed up. And so I was trying to say it without noticing. Thanks for pointing it out.
I'm like,
Frank is then whisked away into a room where his fellow police officers are waiting for him to celebrate his retirement. To Frank Castle, the finest soldier, the finest undercover op, the finest man I've ever known. What am I going to do without you?
get a girlfriend.
It's funny because,
Yeah.
After the speeches, Jimmy and Frank are talking. Jimmy tells Frank to have fun in Puerto Rico and say hello to his folks for him.
Say hello to my little friend.
Say hello to his folks, yep. Important plot point again for later.
Oh, God.
In this version, there's obviously a special edition of, or extended cut that came out of Punisher after this movie came out. That I've got on DVD, but I watched the Blu-ray version. You would have watched the same one on Netflix.
No, not on Netflix. I own a digital copy on the Xbox.
Oh, okay, so sorry, you watched the Xbox. Jimmy Weeks never comes back apart from that one scene later on when Punisher's like, you had 5 months to find out who killed my family.
He comes back one more time. He's talking to
Howard in the coroner's room.
Saint in the
Yeah,
in the
in the
morgue.
morgue. But in the actual extended cut, you find out that Jimmy was the one that told them where he was.
Not the extended cut. It's like an alternate.
No, it's actually in the extended cut too. Like extended cut actually put it into the movie. Here's Jimmy Weeks telling Howard exactly where Frank's going to be. That's why people go, how did they figure out? Well, they do say that they investigated, but they never actually tell you how they found out where he was.
And it's weird too because they have him telling Howard Saint, whereas later on it's Quentin.
Yeah.
Or Quentin. Is it Quentin or Quentin that has all the information on him? So it's like, well, how does Howard not know that if he's already had this conversation with Jimmy?
Yeah, Quentin is played by Will Patton, who's one of my favorite films of all time. Actually, my favorite film of all time, Remember the Titans.
Ooh, shiny.
Jimmy tells him where he was, and later on, when Punisher comes back to avenge his family, he actually visits Jimmy Weeks in the extended cut, and actually goes to his house and forces Jimmy Weeks to shoot himself. It's a really dark scene. I can see why they took it out, because it made Thomas Jane's Punisher or Frank Castle look worse. Even though the guy was a bit of a slime and told him where he wasn't exactly a killer. So it's a hard one, but I think him doing that would have shown Frank Castle was a much darker character than they wanted him to be.
Yeah, I guess.
Right, so after the speeches, Jimmy and Frank are talking. Jimmy tells Frank that they're going to Puerto Rico. Say hello to my little friends. We've already done that.
Play catch up, people. Come on.
Yeah. Weeks and Castle then find out that the person killed in the arms deal was Bobby Saint, Howard Saint's son.
Dun, dun, dun.
Meanwhile, at Howard Saint's mansion, Quentin Glass, Howard's right-hand man, arrives with Howard's other son, John. Notice that John and Bobby are actually played by the same actor.
Yeah.
There must have been twins, John and Bobby.
Oh, yes. No, they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
I quite like the guy that did it because he did a good job of making you see it as two different characters.
Yeah, I didn't know until I went back and said, oh, he looks a lot like his... First I realised it was the same actor. Yeah. And I wish you saw more of Bobby. Like, there's a deleted scene where Bobby and John are talking about how he's going to go and do this deal that behind his dad's back.
Yeah.
I guess they didn't want you to know who he was until this part in the movie. So if you had seen that, you would have known as soon as he died who he was. And this gives you more of a mystery. Howard and his wife, Livia, are told of Bobby's death. Mickey, the guy who showed up at the arms deal with Bobby, is bailed out so he can be interrogated by Quentin. Apparently, Mickey and Bobby's deal was unknown to Quentin and Howard.
Do you know what I find really interesting? This whole plan of Castles would have fallen to pieces if they didn't treat Mickey like garbage.
Yeah, that's the thing, is because he's so mistreated later on, we see and we interrogated that he's happy to help him.
Yeah. He spills the beans pretty quickly and he gives really good detail. Like, I've seen interrogations before and they give details, but
You get everything.
he paints a freaking picture. I can say that, right? Freaking? Yeah, cool.
He's like, was it Jimmy the Squealer or something in Simpsons?
Yeah.
Tight lips Johnny, I ain't seen nothing.
Yeah.
Mickey tells Quentin that Otto Krieg brokered the deal, but that he is also dead. Howard enters the room, tells how disappointed he was in him, and how would Mickey's dad feel about this? A man who gave his own life for Howard. So it sounds like his dad has died and he uses it as a guilt trip. Howard then says how the man responsible must die. He points his gun at Mickey, but then turns and shoots Bobby's bodyguard.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Frank's wife, Maria, is packing when Frank arrives back home. This was a hard one.
This was the last one.
Frank then goes and sees his son, Will, out in the backyard. Will doesn't want to move again, as they have moved so many times already, but Frank promises that when they move to London, it will be for good. Meanwhile, at the morgue, Howard is identifying and saying goodbye to his dead son, Bobby. Howard talks to Jimmy Weeks about who Otto Krieg was.
I guess this wasn't Bobby's world.
Reference to 90s cartoons.
Yeah.
He wants to know everything about him. Jimmy tells Howard to leave it to the professionals. Yeah, professionals, yes. I'll do that. Goodbye, son.
Smooch on the forehead. Oh, yeah.
Cut to morning. After that smooch on the head, he must have been there all night. No. Cut to morning.
Gross.
Cut to morning. Quentin lets Howard know that he has called in all their connections to find out who Otto Krieg was. Cut to Puerto Rico, where Frank and Will are having fun scuba diving by a really long pier. More on this pier later. Then Frank and Will meet up with Maria and Frank's parents. His dad is, of course, played by the legendary Roy Scheider from Jaws and Sequest fame.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
Good dad to have.
It's good.
Yeah, can't say much about that more than Jaws and Sequest. Yeah, great. Frank and his family have met up in Puerto Rico as his parents live there. It is also the site of the castle family reunion. Frank is so happy to be with his family. Yeah, enjoy that, Frank.
Yeah, enjoy it while it lasts.
Bobby's funeral was wrapping up. Howard and his wife get into a limo. Quentin shows up outside the limo window and gives Howard an envelope. His name's Frank Castle, senior agent. Just got the Bureau's London desk. His alias, connections, apartment in Europe. None of it was real, not even his death. Well, maybe it was. Maybe he died and came back to life so he could die again. You have your chance. He's leaving for England next week, and he's at a family reunion in Puerto Rico. I think you should be there, so you can tell Livia how he died. All right. Wait. His family. His whole family. Is this what you want? Livia nods. She's brutal, man. Like, you see all this and it's like, no. He was just going to kill Frank because, you know, like, it's kind of like mafia kind of rules. You know what you're in for because you're part of the game. You're in the game. People outside of that, though, shouldn't be touched. Wives, children, family, people who aren't part of, you know, even if they're like a civilian in the street, if they're not part of the mafia family, then they shouldn't be touched. Unless she's breaking the rules pretty much by saying his whole entire family. I mean, what did that 8-year-old kid do to deserve this?
Yeah.
He was getting pulled apart from his family anyway, from place to place to place to place. He finally got his dad back, and he gets murdered because his dad was pretty good at his job.
Yeah.
A boat starts heading towards the dockside in Puerto Rico. This is the assassins coming up on the boat now. You don't actually see who they are, you just see the boat. Frank and Maria discuss having another kid. Will gives Frank a t-shirt. It is designed to ward off enemy spirits. It's the iconic Punisher skull shirt. A boat continues to close in. The family reunion beach party is fully underway.
See, what I don't get in this is, okay, I know these guys are good, but nobody gets away.
No.
Not a single person manages to get away. There's not that many gunmen compared to civilians.
Yeah.
The only person that survives this whole ordeal, excuse me, is Frank. And I don't get that because surely someone would have gotten away.
I have a little bit of reasoning for that. If you watch like school shootings and stuff like that, where there's only like one or two gunmen, a lot of the people, yes, there are kids and teenagers and some of them teachers, a lot of them hide rather than run because they're too terrified to run. So in this situation, maybe they're so terrified to run that they almost
because we did have like hiding under the house and
people tried to hide rather than run because when you panic, you don't think straight.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't think maybe I should run and get out of here. If they don't see me, they won't hurt me. So that'd be my reason. It's pure panic.
Yeah, I guess. Yep.
Men in military gear approach the beach. Maria and Will run up the beach while Frank goes to talk to his dad. They go into a beach house with classic guns in it. Those classic guns later on come back too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, modified.
Yeah, they look beautiful actually. All of a sudden, gunshots ring out, and Frank's mum drops to the ground. See, she's the first one to die because he goes, "Mom!" The reunion is attacked by gunmen. Frank's dad throws him a double-barreled shotgun and shells. A gunman tries to enter the beach house and gets blown away by Frank and the shotgun.
Yeah.
More gunmen appear from the bushes. The gunmen are shooting everyone. So this is, like, especially in this day and age where there's been a lot of shootings over the last, 10, 15 years. This is kind of eerie now, seeing this. I'm not sure you'd get away with it in the same way.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you probably would because they seem to still do quite a few things like this in movies.
If they do it, it's more based on true events, trying to get you what happened. But this one, yeah, it's just, when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is kind of like the very cowardly way of just mowing down a bunch of people.
Yeah.
As obviously, I say it, and especially even in New Zealand here, things like this have happened, which it's now become surreal watching it on TV, if like in the movies, even though it's years and years and years ago, and it's not based, obviously, on truth. It's still got that eerie feeling now. Maria and Will prepare to run to the Jeep while Frank's dad is gunned down from behind. So they're the only ones that think about getting away.
When you talk about this movie, the one thing that I noticed more because of the fact that I was reviewing it was how incredibly funny the guy that gets blown up by the gas canister is, because you can actually see that it's a dummy that goes flying through the air. I never really paid attention to it at first. I thought it was maybe one of those stuntmen and they're covered in that suit and, they put them on fire, but then like seconds later, before it gets to any danger zone, they put them out, but it's not. It's just a dummy.
Okay.
And it's hilariously funny. It shouldn't be, considering what is happening around them, but it is hilariously funny just looking at this dummy.
Accidentally hilarious.
Yeah.
So Maria and Will prepare to run to the Jeep while Frank's dad is gunned down from behind. What a coward that guy was, gunning down an old man from behind. Yeah. Like, I was like, come on now. He's like in the 70s, and the only way to take him out is if I shooting him from behind. Frank is manhandled by a guy, but before he dies, Frank's dad stabs the guy in the back with a knife. Frank's dad is an absolute badass. Yeah. So as he's dying, he's like, I'm still going to save my son, and then he stabs that guy in the back. Yeah. Shows you also, I'm not sure if they meant to do this, but it shows you where Frank gets that absolute relentless kind of approach to where he is. Like later on, obviously, he just doesn't go down. Yeah. And you see his dad, even though he's been shot I think he got shot. Oh, he got shot. Even though he's been shot and he's dying and he knows he's dying, he still manages to take one of them out. Yeah. That shows you Punishers, that's what the Punisher's all about. So
I think that his dad had similar training to him.
Yeah, I think he must have been
He had to have, because the guns were a giveaway. Yeah. The knife's a giveaway. If you actually see the knife, it's like a proper hunting knife. It's not like a little dishwasher knife.
It's a big butcher one, yeah.
It's a big old, you're gonna die from it knife. The actual scenes where he's more helping, it doesn't feel like a guy that's just picked up a gun for the first time.
First thing also, when they start hearing shooting, it's not, oh my god, what we do? It's, here's a gun, yeah. Let's get going. Do you ever pick up what his dad's name was? Because later on it says Francis Castle dies. I was like, is that Frank's full name, or was that his dad's name?
I think Francis Castle is Frank's full name.
Maybe that was his dad's name, because it says Francis Castle died, because obviously Frank didn't.
Yeah, but they think he's dead. Frank Castle Sr. There we go. We both got to it at the exact same time.
That's actually a clever way later on with the paper then saying that Frank Castle's dead, because if he's a former agent himself, then people will assume that it was Frank Castle that died, but it might have been just confirming his dad.
Frank Castle Sr.
Yeah. Very clever. Maria and Will run for the Jeep. The gunmen chase after them in their vehicles, while Frank takes out a guy and pursues on a motorbike. The gunmen shoot out the Jeep's back tires and cause it to flip and roll. The gunmen close in on the Jeep. Maria and Will run away, but are still being pursued. Maria and Will run down a really long boardwalk pier from before. So when they were scuba diving, Will and Frank, you saw that big long pier before. Now it's where they're running down to try to get to a boat.
Yeah, and now before you get into this, I would like to point out that the guy, they call him a witch doctor. They don't say he is a witch doctor.
We're going to get into that later shortly. Don't worry. We're going to get into that.
I just want to point that out.
I know. It's a conversation we're going to have. The gunmen shoot up the Jeep's back tires and cause it to flip and roll. The gunmen close in on the Jeep. Maria and Will run away, but are still being pursued. Maria and Will run down that really long boardwalk pier from before, trying to get to Frank's dad's boat, but are run over by the gunmen, which is kind of brutal. Yeah. Kind of reminds you of the first Mad Max movie as well, because that happens in the very first Mad Max. His wife gets run down by a motorbike. Frank arrives to find the bodies of his wife and son lying motionless on the pier. No blood, though. Frank then tries to gun down...
Probably all internal.
Possibly. Frank then tries to gun down the gunman in the big ute that ran over his family, but is shot down himself. Frank starts to drag his wounded carcass towards Quentin and his men, who exit the ute. Frank tries to reload a shotgun and fire, but it's empty. Frank is then beaten down, pretty brutally too, thrown from the pier, then picked back up and dragged to the end of the dock and shot execution style by John Saint, Howard's son. But for some weird reason, he shoots Frank in the chest and not in the head. You should have gone. What was that? You should have gone for the head, is what Thanos says.
Oh, exit stage right.
I can see you shaking your head as soon as I start doing that, you know.
Yeah, as soon as you going with the should have gone, I was like, oh God, no, please, stop, he's already dead.
He's going Infinity War, stop him. The pier is set on fire by the gunman. Frank is left for dead. Yeah, sloppy stuff. They should have shot him in the head though, surely, if you wanted him really dead. Frank makes it to shore. He has survived the attack. A man named Candelera finds Frank and takes him away so he can patch him up. Or maybe give Frank special powers via voodoo magic. This has been something, Jeff, that we have discussed before. So he could have just patched him up, and he could have just...
I'm pretty certain he just patches them up. That's it.
With the Frank Sr. thing being so relentless in killing someone, even when he was dying, does give you, like, kind of a bit more ammunition. Ammunition, because it's Punisher. For your argument, because maybe it's just in him the whole time.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I'm not saying he's superpowered, but maybe he has some sort of, maybe the guy used some sort of medicine that makes him heal faster. Because later on, when he's near death from the Russian, a couple of hours later, he comes out of that elevator like, yeah, I'm back in the game. Let's just go kill people. It doesn't say it's like a week later or anything.
He's pretty groggy on his feet.
Yeah, but he's still good enough to take out a whole entire building when he was like, couldn't even defend the group before.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm saying there's a chance it could have happened.
I just feel because that they, you know, they're like, oh, they say he's a witch doctor. They don't go, he is a witch doctor. That's like, it'd be like saying, oh, he is a man that knows. That doesn't mean he knows. It just means he is a man. You know?
So he could have got voodoo powers from Candelera, or he could not have. Who's to say?
Yeah, I feel that's too far a stretch. But, I mean, in saying that, I've seen Jonah Hex, and they gave him freaking powers.
I think that's why they didn't say anything, and like if they were going that way, they didn't actually mention it. So therefore, they could have said he didn't give him powers; he just healed him.
Because in Jonah Hex, in the comics, he's never had powers, but for some reason, they gave him the ability to bring people back from the dead briefly, so he could interrogate them.
But then again, they also had Megan Fox in that film, so mistakes were made.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, back in Florida, this is in Tampa where the movie's based, Howard and his family enter a club where Mickey is the valet. Apparently the name of the club is called Saints and Sinners. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, yeah.
Olivia treats Mickey with disdain.
By jeez, does she ever.
Yeah, she does, eh? She hands Mickey a newspaper. The main article reads, ex-FBI agent Francis Castle killed gangland style. So this could be actually the dad's confirmed death. It might not be the Frank Castle we know. And maybe that's the clever way of putting it, because they would have assumed it was Frank Castle. There's no picture on the front page that actually shows Frank Castle.
No, I don't think there is, no.
No, so maybe that's assumed. Howard and the family celebrate Frank's death. Howard then discusses business while he watches Quentin dance with Olivia. As Howard watches on, he seems uneasy about how Quentin is whispering in his wife's ear.
I don't think he's whispering. I think he's just talking, but because it's loud music, it seems like they're whispering.
Seems like the seeds that Frank will exploit are already there.
Yes. You can clearly see that. And I think, there's other seeds there for other parts as well that later gets enforced more by Frank as well. Not just for him, but for Maria and for Quentin as well.
Yeah, so what I like about this film, it wasn't just something that came out of nowhere. There's little seeds that kind of show you that if you knew how it was, like Mickey does, you know there's little things that will trigger him. And if Punisher can exploit that in a certain way, he can get him to do whatever he wants. And yeah, it's brilliant. That's why later on. A little later on, Howard gives Olivia some diamond earrings. Then they get real freaky naughty. Because she's like, huh. But those earrings again come back later on too.
You killed him for me. Excellent. Like, dang.
It's such a quick scene, you might almost think it's a throwaway scene, but it's not. It's cleverly, he shows the earrings that he gave to her. Again, that's going to come back. A lot of these things in this movie come back, which I like. The payoff is there.
Yes.
Frank and Candelaria take a boat back to Frank's parents' house, where the family reunion massacre took place. Frank looks like something out of Castaway.
Yeah, he does, yeah. Yeah. Wilson! Wilson! Wilson's dead as well, man.
When he's inside looking at his family's photo and stuff and the guns, you can actually see him physically shaking. Yeah. He's like just so shaken. I thought that was brilliant actually from Tom Jane.
And I don't think it's rage at that point.
I think it is.
I think it's a mixture of like shock of just how probably hadn't set in completely that he lost his whole family.
Rage and loss,
Yeah.
I think combined, you might be right. But just the fact that he's shaking, like you didn't have to say he was angry there. You could see it, which is, again, really good. He wanders around shaking with rage.
But the other thing I feel is that it was a calm rage. It wasn't like a,
It was a calculated rage.
Because you see a lot in movies when people have rage, they just biff things everywhere.
I was angry. Arrgh.
And they start like destroying a room or whatever, but this was calm.
And later on, he kind of explains that when they say you're angry, you're upset about this, and he kind of, and later on, we say upset. When I was late for a plane or delayed a plane, that's when I'm upset. Yeah. There's no word for what I am, and this shows you this is no word for how seething he is. He wanders around shaking with rage and grabs his dad's modified antique pistols, which turn out to be the Punisher's pistols, which are really cool, and also grabs rifles. He also finds the t-shirt that his son bought for him on the beach. The skull, though, on the front has been modified by the damage and looks damn cool.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how that happens, but
hey.
I'll take it with a grain of salt.
I ain't arguing with that one. Frank says goodbye to Candelaria. Candelaria? Yeah, Candelaria. Go with God.
God's gonna sit this one out.
Cool line. I love that line.
Yeah. Me too.
Cut back to Tampa. Frank arrives back with a big weapons chest and starts to prepare in a rundown looking building. Cut to daytime. We are introduced to Joan, a resident of the same rundown looking building complex that Frank lives in. She is gardening when Frank pulls up on a beat up muscle car. Frank starts to pimp his ride in a quick montage. It includes shielded windows and a massive new engine. And you know what we've done? We've gone and put an iPad in the back of your car.
And don't forget that chocolate fountain, because that is just so sweet.
Got to pimp my ride. Right, but yeah, he has like armored windows and windscreen and a massive new engine. So he pimps it up.
It's quite good how he prepares for this, but I mean, he doesn't know what he's getting himself into, but he's preparing for just about anything.
Yeah, nothing's by accident for Punisher. Everything is, he's got a plan for any situation, really, which is great. Because it comes back again. Those windows again come back later on.
Yes. Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah.
It then cuts back to Joan, who is now smoking while sewing on a sewing machine. She is listening to the song Broken by Caesar, featuring Amy Lee. The song is on the soundtrack and is a favorite of mine.
We got that.
Yes, I'm broken.
So well into this. Right. So much detail.
Nathaniel Bumpo, another resident, is cooking in the kitchen. And Spacker Dave, the guy with all the piercings, is playing video games. So he kind of shows you he's got some computer knowledge, because later on he actually figures out who Frank Castle is once he knows his name.
Oh, yeah.
They all can hear Frank working on his car. They watch Frank from the window. He hasn't slept all week.
How do you know?
Because I haven't slept all week.
Ooh.
She's like, yeah, what have you been doing, Joan? You've been watching him this whole time? Joan heads to work as she's a waitress at a diner. Cut to night. Frank leaves in his car. Mickey is getting into his car when a flashlight is shone on him. You don't see it's Frank because it's in first person mode. You're supposed to be dead! That's my Mickey. Is that right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Hang on, I've got to go up, do I? Oh, yep. Okay, yeah, sorry. I'm too busy enjoying all your commentary. I'm just like, I'm lost in your eyes.
Lost in my eyes. That's what a lot of people say. Cut to Mickey chained upside down with his shirt off in Frank's apartment. Frank begins to interrogate him about his friends. Frank puts on some goggles and prepares a blowtorch.
It won't hurt at first. It's too hot, you see. The flame sears the nerve endings shut. killing them. You go into shock, and then all you feel is cold. You'll smell burning meat, and then it'll hurt.
Frank then from behind Mickey. Sorry?
From behind Mickey? Oh, yeah. I like where this is going.
Frank then from behind Mickey, so he can't see, starts to burn a slab of meat that is on the table and jabs Mickey in the back with a popsicle, making Mickey think he's been blowtorched. This scene is an example of what I really like about this version of Punisher. He uses his intelligence and is not brutal when he doesn't need to be.
Exactly.
Yes, it's not comic accurate, but I like this about him. It's smart.
Really?
And if he had blowtorched him there, do you think Mickey would have helped him at all?
No, he probably would have been dead.
Even though he kind of goes, you're sick, you know. But he knows that Punisher's not going to hurt unless you're really bad. He's not going to hurt you. Yeah. So he's on the side of right, so Mickey kind of understands it, I think, as well. Dave and Nathaniel can hear Mickey's screams. They are discussing if they should call the police. Mickey starts to give Frank info about Howard Saint. As Mickey discusses Howard's businesses, it feels like an Ocean's type of plan montage. Makes sense, as Mickey is played by Eddie Jemison, who was in the Ocean's movies.
Yes.
So that's, again, like we talked about, he is actually giving them information for free because he absolutely despises the Saints. Yeah. And you can see that.
Just basically what I said. I don't know if this plan would have gone the same way. I believe 100% the Punisher would have still punished them all. Yeah. But I don't know if it would have gone the same way if he didn't have Mickey in his pocket. And
you wouldn't have believed it or thought it was as authentic if you hadn't seen Mickey being mistreated by the Saints earlier.
Yeah.
2 scenes where they made him almost shoot him. Yeah. And then that scene where they blame him obviously for his bobby, but they also just treat him like dirt when they have the paper and stuff like that. Yeah. You see how they treat him as nothing. So he's like, okay, if I help out Punisher, I'm doing right. And also get rid of the scumbag that's ruining my life.
Yeah.
Frank then puts the popsicle in Mickey's mouth, revealing that he wasn't actually burning him. Frank then convinces Mickey to help him take down Howard Saint. This didn't take much convincing, as he hates the Saints. Yeah. Mickey tells Frank all about Howard, Livia, John, and Quentin. Frank starts his plan by dumping his tombstone on Howard's golf course, scratching out the year he died.
Boss, you're not going to believe this. Oh, I think I will.
This is a fun way to say, you should have gone for the head.
Should have gone for the head? Is that why it was his headstone?
Oh, there we go. Ba-dum-bum. I'll be here till Thursday. Yeah. Right, tip your waitress. Frank shows up outside of FBI headquarters where the reporters are talking to the police. He sees Jimmy and Police Chief Morris.
It's been 5 months since my family was killed. I don't see one man in jail.
Look, obviously you're upset.
Now this is another one of those really good lines. Upset? Is that the word? I used to get upset when I had a flat tire. I used to get upset when a plane was delayed. I used to get upset when the Yankees won the series. So if that's what upset means, then how do I feel now? If you know the word, tell me, because I don't.
It just shows you exactly his frame of mind. He's not upset. He's beyond that. Cut to night. Punisher breaks into the Saint building. He gets the money men to wheel out the money to one of the floors to the skyscraper. He then gets them to fill up the briefcase. Frank gets the men to throw Howard's money out the window, keeping only the briefcase for himself. I love that. Do you know who this is? And he goes, Howard Saint. He's going to ruin your life. He already has. I like that.
I also like when he's like, now out the window. My first thought was his telling them to jump.
That's what you first think.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they thought too. Because you'll see the fear in their eyes. Punisher then has a standoff with 2 of Howard's men.
This scene annoys me so much. They know that this guy, I think they know his castle, potentially, or they do. Yeah. He approaches them. They've both got guns, and they haven't yet seen he's got a gun. Yeah. He's only got a briefcase at this moment. Yeah. And what do? Do they take the guns and shoot him? No, they back off into this foyer and have like a standoff. So what is going on here? They let him put down the briefcase and show that he's got a gun, it drives me freaking nuts.
Very much a movie moment, not a realistic one. What happens then? Punisher pulls out double pistols and blows them both away.
Blows them through the glass panes.
Thing is, though, if they had shot him, do you think he would have gone down? I don't think he would have.
We will never know because for some reason they felt like they had to back off into this foyer. It's like, hang on. This isn't where we die. We need to just come back a bit, please. Oh, yeah, don't worry. We'll do that.
This is a turn-based video game. All right.
Yeah.
Now that Frank Castle has hit the news, Dave and Nathaniel look up just who Frank was. They fall at their door while trying to watch Frank come home. Dave pretty much looks up because he's got the computer skills because he's a gamer. Obviously, he's got computer skills. He looks up who Frank was and he's like, counter-terrorism unit, FBI, all these kind of like, I think he's former military as well.
What annoys me here is how easy it is to find his information. Now, he's supposed to be an undercover op, but his information should not be that freely available on the web.
That's why I think they had that gaming thing earlier, so they showed that Dave had computer skills to actually get into it.
That's something that shouldn't be stored on the web in the first place for someone to hack into to find. Do you know what I mean? That's like...
It's a movie convenience.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's too convenient. Like, I mean, you've got the bad guys found out, and now all of a sudden Joe Blogg, who can play video games, has hacked into this highly supposed to be, secure website or whatever it is, and now he knows. It's like, what's the point?
Maybe because he died, it unlocked what he was. I don't know.
Oh, this guy is bad to the bone. Oh, he's dead. Okay, just throw all of his information online.
All right, guys,
Yep.
This is what he was. Frank seems to be doing a bit of drinking in this, but never gets drunk. Notice that? He does a lot of drinking, but is never drunk. Cut to Howard talking to Quentin and John about what to do about Frank. Howard's business partners seem to get nervous about how he is handling Frank Castle. I think the Toro brothers, they're the ones that run the club. They're like, oh, I want to make sure.
Oh, wait. Who?
The Toro brothers are the ones that run most of the bars and stuff in the city.
Oh, just the way you said it, I thought it sounded like you said they run Saints Club.
I think they might, because they're quite often at the club. I think they run a lot of clubs for Saints. Maybe not Saints and Sinners, but they run all the other ones.
They're the least intimidating characters in this movie.
Especially how Howard just like tells them, "You're nothing, guys. Don't come to me about that. I'm going to shoot you otherwise."
Yeah.
And they're like, "This is not even real Cuban." Howard's business partners seem to be getting nervous about how he is handling Frank Castle. Quentin says to Howard that in 48 hours, an assassin from Memphis should be in town to take care of Castle.
Oh, yeah.
Cut back to the apartment where Joan is inside her apartment with a knife, terrorized as an abusive ex-boyfriend is banging on the door. I actually love this scene.
Yeah, me too.
She is again listening to Broken by Caesar featuring Amy Lee, which is on the Punisher album soundtrack. Dave and Nathaniel try to get the prick to leave, but are too scared to make him. Then Frank gets involved. Frank smacks him right in the face and shows him how to use a knife. It's like, but all it was one punch. He's like, "Oh, I'm going home." Yeah, he's a coward. The guy was. I wish he'd done more. Frank to him.
No, I think that was just enough to show what Castle was capable of without going over the top. Considering, yes, the guy was a sleazebag, but he wasn't like up in the Saints sleazebag type of.
I think it's also a way for the audience and also mainly Joan and stuff to see that he's actually a good guy. Punisher, that he won't allow that to happen. Which is after that they realize that they should help him, not hurt him. Joan talks to Frank. "Don't let your memories kill you."
They won't kill me.
I like that line too. Like whenever someone says something to him, he always has something back to how he's going to kill everyone. Pretty much, it's great. Cut to Olivia going to see a movie. While she's inside, Punisher puts a hydrant by her car so no one will actually park their car there. Then breaks into her car and searches it. He finds the earrings that Howard has given Olivia. It's a bit weird that she's carrying them in her handbag, but whatever. Punisher then uses the car phone to call Quentin. The same that she uses her car phone to call Quentin. He tells them that he has photos of him and his boyfriend. Punisher tells Quentin to meet him at the Wyndham Hotel and to bring $5,000 if he wants to see the photos, as he wouldn't want Howard Saint to see them. Quentin shows up at the Wyndham Hotel. Punisher watches him enter. You see that Punisher has taken Livia's car to the Wyndham and parked it somewhere where he'll get a ticket. Punisher then drives Livia's car back to the park outside the movie theatre and removes the hydrant. Quentin waits, but of course Punisher doesn't show up. This causes Quentin to be late for an appointment to meet with Howard, making him suspicious to where he could be. Then Howard asks where Livia is to his son John. He reminds him that Livia will be at the movies as she goes every Thursday. Mickey is at Howard's place. He tells Howard that he saw Quentin pulling up to the Wyndham Hotel. Another plan from the Punisher, obviously ringing up Mickey to tell him. Howard then walks into another room where he sees Quentin and Livia laughing and having a good old time. Howard asks where Quentin was, and Quentin says he dozed off by the pool. Howard then says, how did Mickey then see him at the Wyndham? Quentin denies he was ever there.
Do you know what I don't get? Why doesn't Quentin approach Mickey about it?
Yeah, that's a bit strange. Maybe it could have been deleted scene, like, why are you following me? Sort of thing.
Or why are you trying to dob me in or whatever?
Yeah, you think Quentin might start an investigation into Mickey? Yeah. And wouldn't it would have, like, even though it's already pretty smart, this plan, it would have been interesting if Quentin just found out that Mickey was working for Punisher when Howard stabbed him. Yeah. And, like, he's about to tell him, but because Howard was so angry and wasn't listening to anything he said and killed him, then if he had just not killed him, he would have found out that Mickey was working for Punisher and the whole thing would have been blown. That would have been actually a really good scene, you're right, if he had actually approached him or investigated him, because he's showing his investigation skills already by getting connections. Yeah. If he had done that with Mickey and found out he's working for Punisher, and that would have been good, another layer to it too. Would have been really interesting. Nathaniel and Dave are eating at the diner that Joan works at. Frank is also there, eating at the back table. So, you know, progressive steps. He's going to the same place they're eating now. It's good. A Johnny Cash-looking guy with a guitar case walks into the diner. He takes a seat and looks directly at Frank. The man then pulls out a guitar and starts playing a song.
In time you may come back someday to live once more or die once more. But in time your time will be no more.
The song seems to reflect Frank's life. The man's name is Harry Heck. He asks Frank if he liked the song as he wrote it for him.
The funny thing is that he's such a badass looking dude, and yet his name's Harry Heck.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they went wrong there.
Double H.
It just feels wrong because they made him look really cool. He has this great song, great tattoos, seems like a badass dude, and then his name's Harry Heck.
It's not the greatest name, is it? The man's name is Harry Heck. He asks Frank if he liked the song as he wrote it for him, and he's going to sing it at Frank's funeral. Bit of a threat there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cut to Frank driving up to a bridge that has been lowered down. Harry drives up from behind and smashes into the back of Frank's car. Harry then gets out and starts shooting. Frank uses his armored window shields and drives off, so he pulls down the shields to save him. Kind of also reminds me of later on with Sam Jackson and or Nick Fury and Captain America Winter Soldier, when his car's getting shot at.
Oh, yeah.
And he has that all those defenses.
But he didn't have the gun in his car like Fury did.
No, that was cool.
That was awesome, man. Just random, what would you call it? Chain gun or something?
I'd say it's like, yes, it's like a turret almost.
Turret, yeah. Just in the car. It's like, okay, cool.
And he waited till the window to be 1% before he shoots through it. Great. Frank crashes to avoid a kid on the road and flips his car. As he's trying to crawl out, Harry approaches. Frank pulls out a switchblade.
You're one stupid son of a gun, bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Frank then presses a button on the knife. The blade launches out and flies through the air and into Harry's throat. That's a pretty brutal way to go.
That is the heck of a way to go.
He's like...
You didn't see that? It's the heck of a way to go.
Oh, sorry. It flew over my head. I'm like, it didn't go to my throat.
Yeah, probably a good thing.
Cut to night. John is with a crew who are dealing with the money delivery. John hears a beeping and realizes a mine in amongst the money on the boat. John jumps off just in the nick of time as the boat blows up. John then sees the Punisher watching from a hill. He's just like, I'm here. Da, da, da.
I'm in the background.
Howard is furious. He says not to tell the Toros, his business partners, what happened until they have a plan, as the Toros are coming up the stairs. Like, but the Toros already know and visit Howard. Howard says there are no insurances in this business. and that he will not cover their losses. He also reminds them that he has more guns than they do. Howard then tells Quentin to call the Russian. Cut to Frank in his apartment. Dave knocks on the door and asks for help as the guy who was after Joan was in her apartment. Frank goes over, but it turns out to be a ruse to get Frank to have dinner with them. It's a bit weird how Nathaniel makes Dave get dessert with him. I mean, Frank is clearly not over his family, so trying to get him to hook up with Joan just feels wrong.
I really don't think that's what's happening there.
But he got them to leave and have their own time.
Yeah, I think that what they're trying to do is get him to feel more like he's in a family.
But she's trying to kiss him at the window. She gets real close and he's like, no.
Oh, don't remember. I don't remember that.
I think they're trying to get him to hook up. That's why he makes him leave the room. I'm like, he's clearly not over his family.
Yeah. Take that, Batman.
Take that indeed. Frank returns to his apartment and starts to drink. Nathaniel puts on loud opera music. This means they can't hear the Russian attack.
It's really loud to be not being able to hear it, eh? Yeah. Pretty impressive, to be honest.
Good old Big Daddy Cool Diesel Kevin Nash, a.k.a. Super Shredder, plays the Russian in this, who looks so dopey, attacks Frank.
He looks like a really beefed up Wally.
So there's some pretty cool scenes with Frank fighting the Russian. There's one when Frank throws a grenade, but the Russian hits it back at him. The look on his face is priceless. Like, oh God, jumps into the bathtub. Uh-oh. The Russian even knocks Frank through a wall with a toilet and smacks his head through a fridge door. He's like, bam, bam, bam. Like, oh my God.
Or that bit where he bent his gun.
Yeah.
Like, bam! I was like, oh, that gun's not going to be usable.
Just brutal. Frank eventually gets thrown into Nathaniel's apartment. Frank throws boiling water on the Russian's face.
Yeah. Oh!
It just looks nasty after that.
Yep.
Frank then tackles him down the stairs, breaking the Russian's neck. Mr. Castle, Frank?
I'm fine. He's not.
Frank then collapses. Joan and the others take Frank back upstairs. Joan starts to patch Frank back up.
He looks weak. Is he going to die?
Frank then crushes Dave's arm as the needle Joan is using goes into the wound.
Appearances aren't everything. You can let go now.
Meanwhile, Quentin and his crew show up outside. They come inside and see the Russian at the bottom of the stairs. Dave and Nathaniel sit and avoid eye contact as Quentin comes in, as Joan hides in the elevator with an unconscious Frank. Quentin then starts to torture Dave. He starts to remove his piercings one by one forcefully. But through this, even though Dave goes through a lot of torture, and he does.
He really does.
He doesn't give Frank up.
For an average citizen who's never dealt with anything like this in his life, mad props from me. Mad.
I get a bit emotional in that scene because I'm like, you know what? He goes through a lot, and he doesn't even hardly know Frank, but he's one of them now, and he's like, I'm not going to give him up for anyone.
Yeah.
And it shows a lot of the guts.
Yeah, amazing.
A few hours later, Quentin believes that they didn't know or they would have talked. So that's good that they convince a hired trained professional that they don't know anything. So they leave, but have one of his men stay behind to wait for Frank to return. Olivia heads out for her Thursday night movie while Howard says he wants to go hunting. Frank and Joan emerge from the underground elevator. As they do, he sort of half-ripped shirt. He looks like, I'm like a big tough guy. It looks cool. Frank seems to have recovered a lot in a matter of hours. Hence my voodoo magic healing ability theory.
Go away.
Frank takes out Quentin's men with a machete that used to be like a paper cutter on this. Yeah. It becomes a machete. A machete's him right in the head.
Whack to the noggin. And he just falls backwards. It's great.
What else can you do when you got a machete in your head?
Well, you wouldn't take it out like Carl when he had the penny in his head. Yeah. Ma'am.
It could be like a poster. Some days you're just going to get a machete in the head. Nathaniel takes Dave to the hospital. Punisher leaves a note, then heads out of his apartment. He breaks into Olivia's car again and takes her earrings. Seriously, why does she keep them in a box in her bag? It's weird.
It really is. It's plot point.
Yeah, it's just like there to be
just
taken.
Like what you said to me earlier on. Plot point.
Punisher again rings Quentin to meet up to exchange photos. So again, he uses the phone, Olivia's phone again. Frank rings Mickey to start his plan. Mickey asks Howard what he should do with his ticket he found in Olivia's car while detailing it. Ticket was from the previous Thursday at the Wyndham Hotel. Howard asked Mickey for a copy of Quentin's key as Mickey cleans his house. Howard also asked for a copy of Quentin's phone bill, and that is why the Punisher kept ringing from Livia's phone. Quentin is waiting in the suit store, the place the Punisher arranged for the drop. Howard looks around Quentin's house and finds Livia's earring in Quentin's bed. When Quentin comes home, Howard is waiting for him. Howard accuses Quentin of sleeping with Livia. Howard ends up stabbing Quentin to death, quite brutally too. A few times, like, dude, you're killing me. It's like, yeah, that's the point.
It'll kill you. Not if I don't die.
But I'm like, I'm not sad. He deserved it. Quentin did.
Yeah.
Makes me smile how Punisher got Howard to unknowingly do it for him.
Yeah.
Next up, Livia arrives home to find Howard dropping her stuff from the top of the stairs. Howard then accuses Livia of sleeping with Quentin. When Livia tells Howard that Quentin was gay, Howard hits her thinking she was just trying to say anything to get out of trouble. Mickey smirks as Livia is taken away in a car. You see, like, Mickey's like, smirk as she leaves. That's it, camera. Howard throws Livia off a bridge and onto some railway tracks. Brutal way to go. Like, so she falls over and she's like trying to crawl away from oncoming train. Like, oof.
Yeah.
She deserves it though, because she asked for the whole family to die. She was in that kind of line of business. It was going to happen eventually. Howard then goes off to his club. He offers his men $50,000 apiece to kill Frank Castle and $50,000 more when it is done. If you do accept this money, then you're in it to the end. Punisher gets ready for battle.
This is not vengeance. Revenge is not a valid motive. It's an emotional response. No. Not vengeance. Punishment.
Castle turns around to reveal a vest with a Punisher logo on the front. You can see the paint lines dripping down. That was cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Punisher starts taking out the exterior men with arrows, then rigs the vehicles with explosives.
He had way too much time on his hand to do that.
And he did.
Not only that, but no one ever sees him do this.
I agree with that later on when at the end when he had the explosion with the skull. I'm like, how long did he have to do this? Because it seems like he had way too much time. Punisher starts taking out the exterior men with arrows first. Just nice and quiet. He then rigs the vehicles with explosives. Punisher then enters the same building, taking out guys as he goes along. He even puts a mine in the champagne bottle bucket. He sends it up to the floor Howard and his men are on via a service elevator. Good way to take out most of Howard's men.
Yeah, quick way too.
But as you go up the stairs, he slices that guy with a blade as well. Howard then escapes via elevator while Punisher shoots down the remainder of the men. Don't know what type of vest Punisher is wearing, but he managed to take 2 shotgun blasts directly to it, no problem.
Pretty close to each other too. They're not a good distance apart. They're really close. I mean, you can see the stuffing flying out of the vest as he gets shot. Maybe the vest put something on it by the voodoo doctor.
Maybe. He could have. It's always a chance. Yeah, he could have. One of Howard's men sets off the exterior door bomb. So you see Howard trying to run out the door.
No!
And he blows it up. But this is where one of the coolest fight scenes happen in the movie too, where the guy is fighting Punisher and Punisher stabs him through the hand and through the backside.
Yeah.
Pulls that knife back out, but then stabs him with another blade and stabs him right through the bottom of the jaw, pretty much through the face. Punisher finds Howard's other son wedged between a desk and a shelf. Seems Howard didn't really care about his kids when he was running for his life.
Nope.
Punisher puts a mine in his hand and ties a trigger wire to John's arm.
Now, here's where things get interesting for me. Why doesn't the kid just drop the bomb straight there?
Because he doesn't want to die. He's a coward.
He knows he's going to die either way. Yeah. Why not take Punisher out with him?
He's a coward. He won't die until he has to. That's why I think...
I don't know.
That's why I don't think he would do it, because he's terrified, and I don't think he didn't want to die until he actually had to die.
Yeah. But the thing is, and it's very interesting for me, is I feel that if he'd just stepped up just that little bit, yes, he would have died, but he would have taken Punisher too.
He wasn't thinking that way. The saints think about themselves.
Yeah, well, that's pretty clear throughout the movie, yeah.
If he lowers his arm, the bomb goes off. Howard limps off into the car park, but Punisher is following.
Howard Saint. Howard Saint! You took everything from me.
You killed my son. You hear a loud "No!" in the background, followed by a loud explosion.
Both of them.
Punisher then shoots Howard in the gut after a standoff. Another standoff!
Yeah.
Punisher throws photos of Quentin and his boyfriend at Howard.
Made you kill your best friend.
Then throws down one of Olivia's earrings.
Made you kill your wife.
Oh God!
And now I've killed you.
Punisher ties Howard to the back of a car, plants a bomb on it, then puts the car in gear, dragging Howard behind it. Punisher then detonates a whole bunch of cars in the car park, but not the car Howard is being dragged by. The flames from the explosion cause Howard to catch fire. Then Punisher, after a while, detonates Howard's car. That was a satisfying way for Howard to go, getting dragged behind a car while on fire.
Absolutely brutal.
What he deserved. The explosion from the cars create a fiery Punisher logo that you can see from above. This part is a bit ridiculous. I mean, how long did that take to set up?
While we're discussing how we're going to kill this guy, hey, who's that? What's that guy doing over by the cars?
One bomb there, one bomb there, one bomb around here, one bomb there. That will create a logo if it blows up the right way.
Could you imagine, like, he would had to have planned that out and planned it out really well.
I'd imagine like an Ocean's kind of montage plan of how he's going to do that.
Yeah.
That'd be great. They'd have like Mickey doing the voiceover for him.
And I was like, oh, and what if there's not a car there? What do
It's going to take us 3 days to do this plan, but all you're going to do is go over and shoot people. Yes, it's going to take me 2.5 days to set up these explosions.
Yeah. So that it looks so cool as I walk away.
Imagine how cool it'd look if you're in a helicopter flying above.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Frank returns to his apartment and drinks some more while holding a picture of his wife and child. Mission accomplished. Frank then looks to take his own life, before realizing that wouldn't be what his wife would want. Frank says goodbye to Joan, as he has work to do, and he says to her as well, you know, good memories can save your life, because obviously his wife was the reason he didn't do what he was going to do. Cut to later, Joan, Nathaniel, and Dave return home and find a pile of money left in the cupboard for them by Frank.
I've got work to do. And I was like, keep an eye out for me. Where? In the obituary. It's like, damn, that's a good line.
Then he's on the bridge at the end, and he says this line.
Frank Castle is dead. Call me the Punisher.
And that's how it ends. It goes to the credits from there. Yeah, I thought it was a good way to end it. Right, Jeff, before we say too much about what we feel of the movie, let's go into the ratings.
Yes.
Nobody does it, Bennett.
Right, Jeff, so we're going to do our ratings now for Punisher 2004. Let's start off with the story. What have you given it out of 5 stars?
5.
Got it 5?
It's a really strong story. It's not one that I can think of from memory that has been done before. Okay, it might not be how it was done in the comics, but I didn't go into it for it being a comic movie. I went into it being an action movie called The Punisher. And so I gave it a 5 because it was a good story. And it's one that you can go back to and watch again and still enjoy.
Yeah, it's been, 17 years since it came out?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like 17 years old. I've given it 4 out of 5. I think it's a really good story too, especially the parts where Punisher uses the bad guys to kill their own family and stuff. It's smart in that way. I've given it 4 rather than 5 because there is a couple of moments during the movie where it drags a little where it doesn't need to. Yeah. Like the assassin come along is nice, but it's kind of like a side story. When he's with the apartment having a dinner and stuff, it's nice but not needed. Yeah. So that's why I've given it 4 rather than 5 because I don't think there's some bits of it I thought was a little bit draggy. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah. For acting, Jeff, I've given it 4 out of 5.
4 as well.
Yeah, I think Thomas Jane is really good as Punisher.
John Travolta did a really good job as Howard Saint.
Yeah, I thought he was a good Saint too. Some of the, like Quentin, I like Will Patton's Quentin. Yeah. But once you get through there, like John's okay, the son's okay, but everyone else is kind of generic.
Yeah, but they still do. I mean, still good casting choices.
Yeah, there's no bad casting choices. It's just once you get out of Tom Jane, John Travolta.
Ooh, maybe.
Will Patton.
Maybe there is just the one bad casting choice.
Which one's that one?
The Russian.
Kevin Nash. You can't go wrong with Big Diesel. Big Daddy Cool.
He's not Russian though, is he?
Big Daddy Cool.
He doesn't say anything purely so that you know that he's not Russian.
He's Big Daddy Cool Diesel. How well it holds up, Jeff? What have you given it?
5.
5?
Purely because of the fact that it is one that I've bought myself and I can go back to it and watch it again and again and again. Yeah. It's enjoyable. Again, it's not one that I, to recent memory, have seen done before in such a way that this was. Most of the ones that I've seen that are similar to it are just straight out him going around shooting everyone, whereas this, it's calculated. He gets the bad guy to kill his own people for him. It's not something that's done, to my memory, it's not something that's been done before.
Yeah, I've given it 4 out of 5 for how well it holds up. I think it does a really good job of holding up. I just don't think, like, some movies you go back, like Terminator 2 and stuff, and go, this is absolutely amazing, even though it's 30 years old. This still holds up really well, but I just don't think it's quite holds up amazingly. That's why I'm giving it 4 rather than 5. But otherwise, yeah, ethically, it holds up still really well. There's nothing there that I go, oof, it wouldn't be 2020. Maybe the massacre at the reunion might have not passed today because of what's happened in life since then. But otherwise, yeah, I thought the story was how he sets up, like you say, the bad guys to kill his own people. And even the interrogation scene with the popsicle and the meat, it's a different kind of Punisher, and I'm glad it's the first one I saw, because if I had just gone in thinking he had to be a Punisher like the ones we see later on, then I may have gone, oh, well, this isn't the true thing. But because this is my first viewing of a Punisher, it gave me a chance to have my own opinion rather than one I already had set in my mind. For music, Jeff, I've given it 3 out of 5. I think the song Broken from Caesar featuring Amy Lee is a really good song, and the theme music's not bad, but there isn't really a great theme through the movie.
Yeah, I gave it 3 as well, purely for the same thing. Like, that song for me from Harry Heck is probably the only one that I remember more than any of the others. And I like the theme music to Punisher, but I never remember it. It's not one that pops in my mind. If a theme's going to pop in my mind, it's more than likely going to be Batman.
Spider-Man's pops up on the Sam Raimi ones, yeah.
But not Punisher, unfortunately.
No, as I say, it does a credible job, but it doesn't really make you think about it. So 3 out of 5 for both of us. And for visuals, Jeff, how well do you think visually it looks?
I gave it a 4. I had to give it a 4. I probably could have gone 5, but that dummy killed me. that dummy just looked terrible. And also, I guess it's because I had really no way around it. But if you go back and have a look at Olivia, when she gets hit by the train, it's so fake. Yeah. And I know that, it's because there's probably no way around it other than to maybe throw in another dummy, but it just looked awful.
For me, visually, it looked okay. Like, there was no shots that made me go, wow, that was an amazing shot, or that was an incredible shot. It was just all kind of cookie cutter kind of movie, so it was fine, but it was nothing. Like, I've watched Jurassic Park and stuff, there's amazing shots in that. Yeah. But this one didn't really have anything that I would go, wow, it's an incredible shot. So 3 out of 5. Right, Jeff, so let's go back through what we've done. For story, I gave it 4 out of 5. You gave it 5 out of 5. For acting, I gave it 4 out of 5. You gave it 4 out of 5. For how well it holds up, you gave it 5 out of 5. I gave it 4 out of 5. For music, you gave it 3 out of 5, and I gave it 3 out of 5. And for visuals, I gave it 3 out of 5, and you gave it 4. Your total was 21.
Yep, that seems about right.
My total was 18, which means it gets 39 out of 50 stars.
Ha! Look what I just found. Still sitting here. The Masks one.
Funny.
And it got half a star more than The Punisher.
39 out of 50, I think, is pretty good for a movie that I think for a lot of people has kind of forgotten about it. When people go, oh, name a Punisher movie that doesn't get enough rep, I quite often say The Punisher 2004. Yeah. Spider-Man obviously is great. X-Men has its moments, a hit and miss. Blade, when that came out, that was cool as well. Black Panther, MCU, yes, they're all really, really good. But Punisher, because it wasn't, I think when it came out, it wasn't massively marketed. And no one really knew of it. It kind of went under the radar. And then when people saw it and wasn't comic book accurate, like you see Warzone and the new Netflix Punisher more is, people were like, Thomas Jane one wasn't great, and it loses a lot of respect for that. Yeah. For that reason, I think it's really good. It's different to every other Punisher. I would want to see more Thomas Jane and more than anyone else play Punisher again.
Definitely. And that version of Punisher too. Yeah. You know, I like watching brutality just as much as anyone else, but it just didn't feel like it had to go that way.
It was more than that. It's more than just a man seeking revenge for his family. Like you say, it's not revenge. Sometimes justice has to go this way for it to actually work out. So for the fact that he went that way and the way he did it, nothing more satisfying than when he starts throwing the photos at Howard Satan and going, "I made you kill your best friend and your wife. So before you die, just remember they were innocent. Well, they were innocent of the crimes you accused them of. Obviously not innocent. That's why they deserve to die." But yeah, 39 out of 50 as we look at the board.
Look at the board.
So Jurassic Park is still number one, obviously, because they got 50 points. They got perfect. Jumanji, 47.5 points, is in second. Batman from 1989 has 44.5. That's equal with Big, 1988. They're both on 44.5 points. And in fifth place, The Phantom with 34.5 points, which means that actually The Mask would be in fifth place, because I haven't put it on here yet. The Mask would be fifth, Punisher would be sixth, and The Phantom would be seventh. So Punisher to be sixth.
Poor Phantom.
Hey, The Phantom, it had its moments, but also had its... He should have used a rope on that bloody plane. You know, when he's hanging on the plane for that long, he lost my respect.
Yeah.
Puts it in the really cool movie category with The Mask. So, yeah, 39 out of 50. Puts it in sixth place. Not too bad for Punisher. I'll take that. And hopefully people have enjoyed listening to it, because...
I like the 10 to 19. Did you even try?
Yeah.
I can't wait to get to one of those movies.
That's our point system. So if you got 50 points equals perfecto, obviously because it's perfect. 40 to 49 points is fantastic. 30 to 39 points is a really cool movie, but I'll put Mask in there because it's 39.5. It's in the quantum zone. It's 20 to 29 points is pretty av. And 10 to 19 points is Did You Even Try?
Hey, did you even try?
I enjoyed bringing Punisher back because no one ever talks about it anymore, and it's still a fun movie to watch.
It really is.
Give it a go. I say go in there. Don't think about any other Punisher movie. Go in there, treat it like a movie.
And also just forget what you know about the comics.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Just treat it like a movie.
Just enjoy it for what it is.
Don't treat it as a comic book movie, just treat it as an action movie. And I think you have some fun. Right, so if you like what you hear and would like some more, or have an opinion on what you heard, why not contact us? You can do this by going to our Nobody Does It Bennett Facebook page, or on the Twitter at NobodyDIBennett. That's NobodyDIBennett. Or you can also email us at nobodydoesitbennett@outlook.com. That's nobodydoesitbennett@outlook.com. That's Bennett with 2 N's and 2 T's.
Please, sir, can I have some more, sir?
You can. If you want to go to Nobody Does It Bennett on Spotify or Google Music, you can definitely go to those two places, or other podcast outlets. So if you go into Spotify, you'll see Nobody Does It Bennett. You also see JB's Real Cut.
That's what I was trying to set you up for. I set you up for it perfectly earlier on, and you clicked, and then you messed it up that time.
I realized at the start I didn't say where you could actually get the podcast. So on Spotify is probably the easiest place to find it, or on Google Podcasts are the two places that are mainly with it. Not on Apple yet. Still trying to fight that war of why it's not accepting my Apple ID, but we'll get there. Like listening to our podcast, why not try more Nobody Does It Bennett podcast episodes, or JB Real Cuts as well. That's JB Hi-Fi's podcast, where I talk with Jeff and other people about more recent movies. Thanks, Jeff, for joining me again for what was a fun episode of Punisher. I really did enjoy this one.
Yeah, me too. Any final words? Anything that you think?
Final words is give it a try. If you haven't seen this movie and you've listened to this, well, then we've probably ruined it for you. But I say, even if you even
we've ruined it for you good.
But even if you have, and just curious, it's on Netflix, so why not give it a go?
And you don't have to pay for it if it's on Netflix. You're paying for Netflix, sure, but you don't have to pay for the movie.
Don't
itself.
Steal people's Netflix, guys. That's not what we're saying. Pay for your own Netflix, but then you got it. just reminds me of a joke in the recent movie that came out called Scoob, where the people were like, he was stealing his grandmother's Netflix. And Fred was like, you guys pay for your own Netflix? I was like, oh, come on, Fred. Right, so have you got any final thoughts, Jeff?
I would say that of all the different versions of Punisher, this is definitely one that would go down in history as a good one.
If you want to give it a go, I say. And if you one of these people that enjoy it and are ashamed to enjoy it because people say you shouldn't like it because it's bad, well, no, screw them.
Yeah, well, see, what I'm trying to get across is that we aren't saying that you should like it and you should enjoy it, but what we're saying is give it a try, and you might surprise yourself. You might enjoy it.
Yeah, it's worth a shot. Like it or hate it, at least you know then. Right, so thank you for joining me again, Jeff, as we said. And remember, some others may do it better, but nobody does it better. All right, take care.
Catch you next time at the movies.
It's the end of the show, and now it's time to go. Don't be sad, just be glad. Then nobody does it better.